of the darkness, I rose up. Gold in my soul, it's a gold rush. Honor and freedom, I toast up. Kicking game on the snare drum. Heart on the beat, let it bleed out like sacrifices. Cut it open, emotions. Spilling like oil and coasting. Therapy for my mental, I'm pinning a pistol and shoot down the criticisms. Individually, I heard the voices that told us. Throw dirt on my name and wish me the worst and scold us, Shot through the heart and pray on my downfall. But Young T prevailed on my outlaw. Stand on top of the table like John Wall. Got the cross on my chest like Olympic gold. Rap it smooth on the floor like a jazz song. Witness greatness, look up in LeBron home. Remember next time for you doubt us. That only made me go John Jones. HGH, I got the shortcut. God on my side, you got bad luck. Look at how they all doubt us, they doubt us, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones,
Just a sentimental kid with a little bit of attention deficit. Hyperactive disorder, always out of order. I never had a chance though, but I would've wished on every single sad song. Never really knowing the moments I was groaning was zoning by the opponent. Opponent kids like me, Satan sees an opportunity, making me feel immunity. As long as my community can sin like me, there's nothing more you need than you can be at peace for your life. And realized I was swallowing lies instead of my pride, and I had to give my life to the eternal prize. Now I'm
underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones, we the ones.
Welcome to Forever, man. Let's go. Come on. It's forever. No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. And there will be no surrender.
Now allow me to reintroduce myself. They call me J.O.N. to the easy E-N. Know that we undefeated. Y'all are beneath them speeches trying to air a grievance, but his lines are overhead. Better check the air for clearance. Call the tower. This is our credit. He the heir apparent. Really, I've never been better. Legacy, this is forever. All the more times I've been severed. I'm raising the bar. You can go ahead and measure. Think about time for a toast. Time that we welcome to go. Yo, we're just leaving. I think about time that somebody go get on their coat. You know I got all that anthem. Come back in. What you call that add-on? Got anthems and bands with masters. Getting them right like my name was Miranda. I ain't bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive. One more time. This is forever. Remember the legend. He never gon' die.
I ain't bigger dead than alive. Bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive. Dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive. Bigger dead than alive.
Just making sure that you know why, because this is forever. And there will be no surrender. You know that this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right right here forever. I am just leaving a legacy. I am the one that they paid us. Got something to say to me, say it. You know I've been waiting so patiently. This is my legacy. Y'all don't believe me, then wait and see. Basically, I have been running things. You can just go on and take a seat. Yeah. Love when they hated me, put that on everything. Not on my level. You can't be the enemy. This is the plan that we showing them anyway. Hit up the lawyers and give them the NDA. Woo! This is the brand new. This is the brand new. Nothing you can do. Nothing you can't do. And there ain't no thing that you'll be taking from me. Man, it came from nothing. Made it something. Name is buzzing. Call me Ryan Gosling. Hey, gon' know that they gonna love me more when I'm gone or retire the throne. The kind of things that I'm on gonna be feeling like a god because this is forever. And there will be no surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever.
I ain't bigger dead than alive. Bigger dead than alive. I ain't bigger dead than alive. Dead than alive. Yeah. I ain't bigger dead than alive. Bigger dead than alive. Really, I never been better. Legacy, this is forever. Really, I never been better. Legacy, this is forever. Really, I never been better. The legacy live on forever. Yo, remember the legend and know that he never surrendered because this is forever. And there will be no surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever. No surrender. It's forever. You know this right here forever.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I am Jesse Cohen. This is All the Kings Men Live, presented by Manscaped. Manscaped is an official partner of the LA Kings. Thanks to this revolutionary company, manscaping accidents are a thing of the past. Just get yourself the Manscaped Perfect Package 3.0. Inside, you'll find products like their Lawnmower 3.0, which is advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't cut you. Everything you need to keep trimmed and smelling nice is in the Perfect Package 3.0, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KINGSMEN at manscaped.com. That's manscaped.com, and use the code KINGSMEN. Joining me, she does every week, Carlin Bathe. How are you doing today, Carlin?
I'm doing well, Jesse. How are you doing?
I'm good. I felt like I rushed that read.
You did. You nailed it, though.
All right. Well, I felt like it was a little fast.
No, that's what happens when you memorize things. It just rolls off.
You know what? Surprisingly, I can memorize stuff pretty quickly. I have not devoted an iota of brain power to memorizing that. I read it for the first time every week. Listen, we start every episode with a would you rather, and full disclosure, Carlin, I did not have one ready to go. I just typed in hockey would you rather on my phone while the clock was ticking down, and I got one that I think will be sort of interesting.
Okay.
That is, would you rather have a best friend who is a fan of your most hated team, or a best friend who doesn't care about hockey at all?
Oh, I think the hated team is fine.
Really?
That's totally fine. Yeah. Do you think my best friend Kat likes anything but, like, I don't know, the Rangers? She's over in New York right now. Like, no, it's totally fine. It's cool. I'd rather her have a different team she liked. Because then there's more stuff to argue and debate about, you know?
I guess I'm the total opposite then. I would prefer, I mean, my best friend is a Red Wings fan, which hasn't really mattered recently, but in the early 2000s, it was a point of contention. It wasn't a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Although when he got engaged, it was the same. It was the week that the Ducks swept the Red Wings, I want to say in 2000, I want to say.
Yeah.
Maybe. And so I handmade a huge card, and I drew a picture on the front that was like, happy engagement and blah, blah. And then when I opened it up, I had driven around town and bought all the newspapers, the Orange County Register and the Long Beach Press-Telegram and the LA Times, and clipped out all the pictures of the Red Wings sweeping, of the Ducks sweeping.
Before internet trolls existed.
Yeah, and he opened the card at his family's house. I think it might have even been Passover. I think that the timing of that is right. So anyway, that was my one moment of enjoying my friend not liking a team. But yeah, I'd rather have a team who doesn't care. I don't know. That's just me. We bring in now a man whose best friend works for the team that he works for. I hope I'm not out of place saying who his best friend is. Director of Player Personnel, Nelson Emerson. How are you doing today, Nelly?
I'm good, but my wife is. My wife would. She's listening. She can be my best friend.
All right, there you go. That was a good answer.
My best friend is a Ducks fan, Jesse. So actually, going back on that question.
Yeah,
I don't know
there you go.
That now. Anyway.
Well, it sounds like you guys have sorted it out, and I still need to work on some stuff. But Nelson, Christmas Day, the World Juniors starts. The Kings have 9 players representing them in the tournament. Same as last season. How exciting is it for you to have 9 guys at the WJC?
Yeah, that's something we've been following for a couple months now to see how that would all shake out, and I think it's a real exciting for all hockey fans right now, where everyone's looking to see, okay, well, let's watch some hockey, and I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this tournament. I think everyone's excited about it, and definitely we are very excited to watch our 9 players.
Do you root for a team?
Can I say that in the position I'm in with 9 players?
Probably not.
Where does your heart sit?
Well, here's what I will say. I played internationally for Canada 4 times. So, and I'm from Canada, and I was born there. So that's all I'll say.
All right. I'll root for Team Canada for you. How about
there that? There we go.
When it comes to the specific players on the specific teams, obviously you've got guys like Quentin Byfield and Alex Turcotte, top 10 draft picks who are going to play a ton of minutes. But you also have guys like Jordan Spence, who, Team Canada has 8 defensemen. It's not entirely clear how many minutes he'll get. Does it matter to you from a development standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, that these guys even play in the tournament?
Jesse, that's a fair question. And, I think we can answer that a couple different ways. I mean, if you follow Spence's progress over the last couple of years, he's been someone who has really shot up the radar for a lot of people. And, we're real excited about his progress, and we are so emotionally happy for him to have made this team. It's quite an accomplishment for him. But if you watch him play over the last 6 months or so, you realize, him making this team isn't a shock to a lot of people. So obviously, we're real excited about him being on the team. We would like all our players to play more minutes than less. So hopefully he gets a good quality amount of ice time. But having him there is a big benefit for him and for us. And we'll see how it goes. We really will. They, that team is stacked. Like a lot of these teams right now because of no hockey really going on. So we'll see how it shakes out, and we're just happy that he's there. Really.
If you're looking at some of those guys that might not get the ice time that you're expecting, how rewarding is it for them to still be there, have that experience, have that time with those teammates? What can they learn from being at the World Junior Championships just by, existing there?
Yeah, Carlin, it's true, and a player like Spence, he's going to be around some of those other defensemen like Byram and, some of those players like Cousins and Doc. And, he can learn things from everybody. So those experiences are going to be really beneficial for the kid moving forward. Now look at Quinton Byfield, right? He goes to that tournament last year. Canada wins a gold medal, but he maybe doesn't have the role that he was hoping going into that tournament last year. Now he goes back this year and he's expected to have a bigger role. So, all these experiences help these kids moving forward. But let's remember with Quinton, he's still over a year younger than a lot of these players, a year and a half. So he's still on the younger side of things, but because he was there last year, the experiences that he learned, there'll be more expected from him this year for sure.
I didn't verify this, but I read somewhere that he was the youngest player on Team Canada last season, and he's the youngest player on Team Canada this season. So
Jesse, that's awesome. And that's awesome. I was looking at the same thing last night, or was it the night before? Because that came to my thought process too. And I was thinking, okay, I'm looking at this roster Canada has, and all these players are throwing out there, even Spence, right? He's a second-year junior and playing the Quebec League. And, now they got all these kids. And I was thinking he could still be the youngest guy. Yeah. And it's funny you say that. So last year and this year, and that's a story in itself. So most of these teams are loaded. The U.S. team, the Swedes are too. So interesting stat.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad this morning about it actually, and he was griping because he had been trying to find information about Byfield. And of course, all the press is going to Doc and Cousins. So I looked it up, and I was the only guy I looked up. But Doc, I think, was born in January of 2001, and Byfield's August of 2002. So wow. I mean, that's a huge difference, especially at that age. On that theme, I mean, obviously,
if I was a Canadian, I was rounding that up. I'd say that's almost 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the conclusion we came to.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, my dad's from Ottawa, so he's paying close attention. But I mean, obviously, the teams and the fans have expectations for specific players. Does the development staff have expectation for those players in this tournament?
Yes, we do, and that's when we get into the business side of things, right? And our players that are returning players, or maybe we set a certain standard to some of our guys, and he goes with the U.S. team and the Swedish team with Bjornfoot, but the U.S. team with Turcotte and Kaliev. I mean, our expectations, we expect them to be leaders on these teams, to be players that play in important times. To have important roles in these events. And that's why, Rob Blake, when we were deciding on, we were talking about the World Junior Tournament, we want our players to have to go through this. We want our players to, have to be in a setting that requires, people to be nervous, people to have, just pressure on them, things like that. So I mentioned those names; those players will have that, and we're interested to see how things shake out.
Also along the lines of you and the development staff, how have your roles changed as you have to watch these players from afar? There's not as much travel, I'm assuming. How are you and the scouts kind of handling all of this, and what's the plan for you in the World Junior Championships? How are y'all going to view it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I mean, it's divided up. Glenn Murray and Michael Connell now they kind of run our development department. So they've been very busy, kind of organizing things along the ways. How our staff kind of communicates with all our players through this time that we're in right now, and they've done a great job with that. Now, as far as the scouts, which I'm more involved in. If you want to look at the bright side of some things, we've been able to keep them very busy, even though there's no NHL or AHL going on, because it's all video scouting right now. So you can sit at home and you can, you get the certain platforms. You can watch games, rewatch games, things like that. So our scouts, they did all the NHL playoffs, every game, all the
Wow.
players. We got so many reports that we would have never gotten. And now you bring up this new one, the World Junior Championships, and we're going to be able to put our pro scouts, same thing. They're going to be able to watch all these games in the tournament and watch all the teams' players. So we'll be able to get reports on everybody. We'll have a whole library of things at the end of the event, and that is something that we wouldn't have had if the NHL and AHL was going on. We just don't have
Right.
the staff to be able to do that. So you bring it up; it's a positive out of this whole thing.
Y'all were pretty tech savvy before with your ways of watching video, but have you picked up any new tips or tricks with some Zoom, maybe some Skype? Is there something that you've learned along the way?
Well, it's yes, everybody, right? We're all doing it. You guys are doing it, and we're doing the same thing. We have teams meetings every day, and you have to be able to do it. You have to learn how to do it. You gotta figure it out. If you don't, you're behind. So we've all been doing it, and I tell you, with the video scouting, we've come to realize and agree that even though live scouting is better, it is better. Video scouting is very beneficial, and we've I think our organization has been a group that has done a lot of video scouting before, and we've
Oh,
used it. But I think we'll use it even more going forward.
that's great.
Obviously, the World Junior Championship is not the only hockey in the world. It's just the one we're most looking forward to as Kings fans. But any day now, we're expecting news to break that the 2021 NHL season will have a schedule, will have a start date, etc. Obviously, not a ton of information available right now. But one of the things that's being kicked around is the notion of expanded rosters and a taxi squad, if you will, of players available to NHL teams should there be injuries or COVID or hub issues. So, I mean, the biggest question that I think most fans want to know the answer to that you won't be able to give us, but I have to ask, is will Quentin Byfield play for the LA Kings in this upcoming season?
Well, that's a couple of questions there. You started talking about taxi squads and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
I think the first question is we're trying to figure out taxi squads too. And once the league gives us the rules, they're going to tell us what we can do or can't do or how many there are. And it's interesting. Do you want your player on the taxi squad or do you want your player playing in AHL and things like that? Is the AHL going to play? Like, how many games are they going to play? How's that going to work? So we go through the whole thought process every day, and it seems like we throw a bunch of different stuff out there. So we're prepared for everything. Now, Quentin Byfield, the same thing, right? Let's watch him at World Juniors. We're hoping he has a successful event. Then we'll get him to LA. We'll merge him with our group. And again, we got to what's going on with the OHL. How's Quentin do when he comes here? He's going to get a tremendous look with our group. We believe he's going to fit right in. We think he's going to do real well with us. So that time will come, and you know what? We once he's here, there's really won't be any rush. We'll make sure we make the right decision, but that we'll know the answer when that time comes, and I think it won't be something that we decide on right away, but it'll be something that we make a decision over sometime.
Uh,
Sounds promising.
yes, I'm just totally drawing a blank there. Sorry.
He gave you a good answer, not answer. It was really well rounded.
I'm going off script here, Carlin. I apologize. And
Sure.
Nelson, this is a question
Let's
that there may not even be an answer to. I was reading an article in Sports Illustrated, my fault for going to Sports Illustrated for my hockey news, but they were talking about Arthur Kaliev and they mentioned him as a left winger. And I thought, well, that's not right. I know that he plays right wing, but I know that he shoots left. So I had to double check. So I reached out to Reed Duthie, who works for the Hamilton Bulldogs. And I said, hey, man, this guy's a right winger, right? And he wrote back and he said, yeah, here's the four most common line combinations that he's been on. So my question, all that intro aside, is is there an impulse from the organization to switch a guy to the wing that he shoots from, or do you stick with a guy on the wing that he's been playing in most of his young career?
I think we find that a player that is able to play his offside, meaning like Kaliev, he's a left-handed player that plays his right side. I mean, that's difficult to do, but so I mean, that's one positive for him for sure. A lot of coaches believe that they like to see players on their own side. I mean, left-handed players play left wing. So what side will he play? I think it's awesome that he can play his offside, which is right wing. But I guarantee you, all players that can play their off wing, that's pretty talented kid that is able to do that. They can also play the left side. So it gives a player like Artie, probably more opportunity, and it gives the coach a little bit of flexibility. I think he'll play. I'm not sure if he'll play left or right. I'm sure he'll start. Jesse, I mean, I think, I can't speak for Todd, but like the Hamilton people said, he's mostly played right side. So maybe sometimes you'd like to start a player on a position that he's, maybe played in the past or is comfortable with.
I appreciate that.
Your tweet was about, Jesse?
What's that?
Is that what your tweet was
that
about?
Was what it, yes, that's what it was about.
I
Everybody
saw
assumed.
that, and I was like, who is he talking about?
Like I said, my fault for going to Sports Illustrated for my hockey.
My goodness.
But look, Christmas Day, USA versus Russia. The pre tournament games start on December 20th. Nelson obviously will be really busy. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks a lot, guys. Two players. Watch that from Finland, that Samatoval, and the kid from Slovakia, Kromiak. Like, they don't get talked about much, and they're kind of maybe later mid-round picks. I'm looking forward to watching those two in this event.
There you go.
Hearing that. Love that.
Straight from the guy's mouth. So everybody check out Finland, and she said Kromiak, Slovakia, right?
Correct.
There you go. All right. Thank you very much, Nelson Emerson.
Bye, Nelly.
Thanks,
care.
Carlin. Thanks, Carlin. See you, Jesse. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
That was Nelson Emerson. I believe we're going to go to an ad for Manscaped right now.
It's one all, one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
All right, huge thanks to Nelson Emerson. Huge thanks to Manscaped for presenting all the King's Men live. Carlin, it's time for This Week in Social Media. What do we got this week?
For this week's social media roundup, we are going to start off with a tweet from the NHL. It's kind of going off what the LA Kings had tweeted in our previous social media roundup.
That's right.
So tell us who your NHL's team rival is without telling us. And Jesse, you picked out a couple tweets that you thought were pretty funny. So I
thought they were perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty perfect. The good old Duck Hunt video game from Bannerman Pod. I mean, that just shows you, obviously, Anaheim Ducks. What else would that be? Nothing else, right? That's just, that is.
And,
you ever played Duck Hunt? Is that a game?
Years. I mean, yeah, in my uncle's basement with my cousins. Yeah, they'd get super pissed at each other and throw the old NES guns and accuse each other of cheating. But thanks to the Bannermen podcast, love those guys. They are tried and true Kings fans. So good for them for coming up with that one. I thought it was perfect.
Very cool. And then the next one, the King Storian posted this good old clip from Jaws, which I still haven't seen yet, but that looks like a spoiler right there. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if you don't know how Jaws ends, yeah, they win. But there's a sequel, so don't worry about it.
All right. Well, in friendlier pets news that you can have in your house, because you can't have a shark, you can have a dog. And Trevor Moore has one named Murphy, and Murphy was laying in a tiny dog bed over the big dog bed, and we did a little dance, a little jig.
Yeah. Well, all I could think of was
because sing it, Jesse.
Big dog in a little bed, obviously.
Exactly.
That guy in a little coat from Tommy Boy, I think.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all I can think of.
I can't wait to see where Murphy lands on Bark Madness, but one of the reigning champs he's going to have to go through would be Meatball. And Gibson, I don't know if Gibson's ever ranked on Bark Madness, but anyway, Michael Amadio got a Christmas card, and I had to squint and look at it and tilt my head because I wanted to see if it was signed from Matt Luff actually or just the dogs. It's signed from just the dogs. So
Sure.
it's a Christmas holiday card, one teammate to another. And Meatball and Gibson have put their stamp of approval on it. How adorable. How adorable is this?
I think to your point though about Gibson, I think it shows the importance of branding.
Yeah.
I would say at least half of Meatball's appeal is the fact that he's called Meatball.
Yep. Gibson. Is he
It's a
named
great
after-
name, but
Debbie
it's not
Gibson, like who?
Meatball.
Well, I want to know the origin name of Gibson. Where'd it come from?
Right.
Meatball's got a story. And in other news, Akil Thomas posted on his social media about something he and his mom have teamed up for. And Project Ghana is, I'm just going to read it straight from Project Ghana's Instagram. They're powered in efforts to bring a first ever Christmas to a village of 193 orphans in Jamestown, Ghana. So pretty awesome that Akil and his mother are helping raise money for this organization to give these orphans a Christmas. And you can see more information about that on his Instagram. And he's got his teammates supporting him too. Alex Turcotte was posting about it and making sure, people saw the news. So I think that's pretty awesome. It's still up on Akil's Instagram right now. So you can click through his stories, get to that story specifically, get on over to the Project Ghana Instagram, see what everything's all about. And props to Akil and his mom, Akila, just really giving back this Christmas and doing something great for people who need it. So Jesse, what are your thoughts on this? I think this is a heartwarming Christmas story.
It is. And listen, obviously charity is super important even in the best of times. This particular year, my family is spread out all over the place. I'm the only one in Southern California anymore. So I won't be exchanging presents with a lot of people. I've got a Zoom white elephant gift party coming up this weekend or Secret Santa, I should say. And I'll say to everybody listening what I said to the group that I'm participating in this thing this weekend, which is if you draw my name, or in this case, if you're watching this and you're thinking about something you want to do, just give $20 to a charity of your choice in my name. That's what I said to my friends. I don't need anything. I've got enough stuff. And this last 7 or 8 months has reminded me of just how little I interact with or use most of the stuff I already have. Yeah. So, or for example, if you've got friends with kids and you don't have a kid, or if you've got friends with little kids, like just buy them something simple. It'll mean so much more to them than it will to you, I would say. So that's, like I said, obviously in the best of times, charity is important and wonderful. And in a year like this, I think it'd probably be much more meaningful to you to make somebody else's experience brighter. So I would encourage everybody to give in some way, even if it's not money, even if it's just time, or a phone call to a relative. I would encourage that.
It's a great message, Jesse. I appreciate that coming from your heart and soul. You do have a heart.
No, I
don't. I
Nope.
felt the warmth. It is so there. Echoing that. Yes, that is just a great sentiment to have this holiday season. And if Project Ghana is one of the places that you now know about and are thinking about, make this the place that you try and help out and donate, or what Jesse says, just another kid, another person. Spread the love this holiday season. We all need a little bit of it. So, My goodness. Let's transition into some more World Juniors talk. So, Alex Turcotte, obviously making the U.S. national junior team for United States. Jesse, I know there's some more news for us to talk about here, but three Kings prospects on this team.
And looking at that roster, I didn't realize initially that it was in alphabetical order.
Oh.
So I'm looking at the lines and I'm like, Arthur Kaliev on the third line, Alex Turcotte on the fourth line.
Oh, you read it left, center, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I had to stop myself and go, oh, right, of course, Trevor Zegras is the lay. Yeah. But yeah, Arthur Kaliev, Alex Turcotte, and Brock Faber, who may find, unclear how many minutes Brock Faber is going to get, but a guy that I'm very curious about, second round pick for the Kings. Helge Grans did not make Team Sweden, and he and Faber have been sort of talked about, and probably oversimplifying it, but talked about as sort of opposite sides of the same coin. Grans offensively gifted, but maybe needs to work on his defense. and Brock Faber maybe, not as great on offense, but talked about as being elite defensively for his age group. So I'm really curious to see how a guy like Brock Faber does in a tournament, short tournament, high pressure tournament, tons of talent, lots of first round picks, lots of high end scoring guys. So to see a guy who's known for his elite defense, to see what he can do in a tournament like this, can he shut down, some of those players like Chromiak and Sleeman Tyvel, like Nelson Emerson talked about. We know what Kaliev can do. We know what Turcotte can do. So my eyes, personally, Christmas morning against Russia, or Christmas afternoon, I suppose, I'll be paying attention to Brock Faber on Team USA. I'm real curious to see what he can do.
Well, something else that Nelson Emerson said was Team Canada is stacked.
Yeah.
And we have a sweet little promo video to show you all watching right now.
People here expect their national team to be the best in the world, and we have that same expectation for ourselves.
Every guy that's here has obviously a lot of success, and ideally you're hoping, one or two guys really grab the ball and run with it.
At the end of the day, we want to build a team. We want to take a player who will be the best in the role we'll have for them. We need defensemen who can shut down top line. We need defensemen who can produce offense. On a quelques valeurs définitivement qu'on a identifiées, puis la démarche est intéressante parce qu'on l'a fait avec nos joueurs. On a parlé à nos joueurs puis on a demandé, à leur opinion, eux autres, qu'est-ce qui fait une équipe gagnante. It will be really tough to figure it out who will be our 14 forwards, our 8D, and our 3 goalie. That's a good problem to have.
They look like they're having fun.
Yeah, and look, I imagine most of the people watching this are rooting for Team USA, so I'll try not to waste too much breath on Team Canada. But with 20 first-round picks on the roster, there's a high likelihood that, a lot of those guys will wind up being the stars and superstars of tomorrow. So Quentin Byfield, obviously the number 2 pick overall, as we were talking about with Nelly, there are some really good players, and they're all older than him on that roster. Guys like Dylan Cousins, Kirby Dach, who were drafted in the same draft as Alex Turcotte over a year ago. It'll be really, really fascinating to see how well Byfield does. And a question I was sort of hoping to ask Nelson, but I felt like we were running out of time. I didn't want to get too far into it, is how much weight will it carry with the Kings if Quentin Byfield has a tremendous tournament at the World Juniors?
Let's call him back up. He can't be too far from his computer right now. We just left him. Maybe he's around. Maybe he's around. It sounds like they're expecting big things from him. So I'm assuming that will pull some weight if he does deliver, in the way that you're kind of saying he could,
Yeah. And the other guy on Team Canada, we talked about him again with Nelly, was Jordan Spence with 20 first-round picks on Team Canada and a couple of second-round picks. I believe he's the lowest drafted member of the team. He's taken 95th overall.
Yeah.
I believe in the 4th round. Now that's the same place that Alec Martinez was taken in his draft class. Not the same kind of player, obviously, but Jordan Spence is a fascinating guy. Moved all over the world, lived in Japan, lived in Hawaii, lived in PEI. He's another kid who could wind up being sort of a diamond in the rough for the Kings. Be really curious to see if he gets any minutes and what he does with it. Right shooting defenseman with Helge Grans, with I want to say Brock Faber, with Walker, with Roy, with Doughty. The right side of the Kings defense seems to be in good shape. So just very curious to see what shakes out with all the teams of the World Juniors, and with the announcement hopefully coming of an NHL season in 2021. Carlin, I think this is probably going to be our last regular show before the new year because we've got Christmas coming up and then the World Juniors. We may have some coverage during the World Juniors. We're not sure. It'll all depend on training camp and announcements and schedules and availability. But
of course,
listen, thanks for a great 2020.
Hey, thank you, Jesse. Thank you for literally carrying us through a global pandemic right now. Having this show every week has just been delightful. It's been a great break in my day, and thank you for having me here with you, and thank you for doing this. Thank you for I can't even speak. Thank you to producer Chris for also being here with us week after week and just teaming up and making something like this happen. So it's been a bumpy 2020, but this has been a very big bright spot for me. So much appreciated.
And thanks, of course, to Manscaped for presenting us every week. As you said, thanks to producer Chris. Thanks for everybody at the Kings on the production side, Trevor and Emma and Lexi and Dami and Ashley and Phil and Ryan. And it's just too many names. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them, Pat. Thanks to everybody at home, of course, watching, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter. Thanks to all those platforms. And thanks, Kings fans. We will talk to you soon. Watch the World Juniors.